welcome to the second video of the Beginner's Guide for Endless Legend. This is going to be a quick overview of Endless Legend factions. I've noticed that a lot of new joiners are quite lost when it comes to picking a faction. So this is going to be a quick run through of the 12 existing factions, and hopefully by the end of this video you should have more insight about which faction is going to suit you better and which one you're going to enjoy playing. So, every faction in Endless Legend is very different. So we're talking very different playstyle here. It's not just the visual appearance. I think that what makes Endless Legend a great game. When you play different faction, you get a very different game every time. And I think it's really great for a 4X to offer so many different gameplay. Second of all, I would say that all factions are good to play, and it's really a matter of feeling how do you like them, how do you like their lore, how do you like their playstyle, what you prefer. You can achieve win in any difficulty with any faction against AI, so don't worry about which one you pick, just choose the one that really suits you, and you really feel like you're gonna enjoy playing them. So at the end of this video, I'm just gonna make a little tier ranking of all the faction, maybe just to help you if you're a beginner, intermediate level, or more expert. But we're gonna now begin with every faction, and we're gonna look at their strength and what their usual playstyle. So let's begin with the Wild Walkers. People consider Wild Walkers as the vanilla faction because they're pretty standard in the way you play them. They've got very good production. That's because they've got living towns, which gives them extra production in forest during summer. They've got really good bonuses when they fight on forest tiles. So, for example, the Way of the Woodlands will give you, once you unlock the research, plus 25% defense on forest, and your ranger unit and all your units are gonna have forest rage which gives them extra attack when fighting on forest tiles. The main victory type that the game suggests is Wander. I would tend to agree with them. This is because your quest is pretty straightforward, and then you should have very good production overall to build wonders. One thing to notice when you go to war with this empire is that you already have good units for fighting. You've got your range attack, which are going to do tons of attack from your backline, and you've got really good tank unit, which is a 10A walker. So this is a great combination, really. So it's a very good faction overall, pretty standard but very good. Second one, the Broken Lords. These are really interesting faction. So they've got appetite for dust, which means they cannot see, gather, or use food. And they're replacing this by dust. So basically you buy your extra population. And what's even better is you can buy the health of your units. So you can heal your units just spending some dust. This is fantastic because if you have a really good economy, then you can pretty much steamroll the game. I would advise build your units very tanky and just abuse that. So it's called Dust Care, the trait for healing your units using dust. So if you make your units really tanky, then you just fight. It doesn't matter if you don't kill the other guys, because you can heal at the end of the turn, and then you can fight again until you just destroy the enemy army. So these are pretty great. It's quite a different playstyle because you don't have to worry too much about food and population. I think they also can have a very good early game because they already got advanced armor research. So if you've got titanium or glass steel in one of your early quests or in your first region, you can have a very decent army to rush in the first turns, I would say. So that's Broken Lords. And yeah, economy type, victory type, I would say expansion, or probably economic, because you can pretty much steamroll for economy. They've got the dust efficient trait, which gives them more gold, more dust on terrain which already has dust. So yeah, very good for economic victory. Vultures and Mezzari. So first thing, Vultures and Mezzari are the same faction. The only difference is the skin, and I think maybe a couple of different stats between their units. So they're pretty vanilla as well. They're research oriented, as you can see. Their victory type is the science one. They've got Knackful knowledge, which gives them extra science on terrain with science. They're pretty good at dealing with strategic resources. This is because they've got their holy resource, which can give them a boost, and they've got the Veins of Orca, which gives them one extra resource. So really great for that. So you can have really specialized army with very good equipment. They can turtle quite well as well. What I mean by turtle is just stay in the city, defend it, and wait until the late game to become very strong and then destroy everyone. They've got Strength of the Vault, which gives them extra fortification, and they've got the ability to teleport their army. So again, really great to defend your cities against other empires. So yeah, you can just basically defend, turtle, and wait until you get your science victory. This is the same for the Mezzari. Necrophagous is very interesting and different faction, I would say. They've got quite a slow growth because they have, let's say, their food is not as good as for the other factions. Basically, they've got less food on terrain with food, which means they grow slowly, and the best way to grow for them is to basically attack and consume cadavers from minor factions, which is really interesting. So as you can see, you get 2 food for extra population you get per villages on cities. And the other big main thing with the Necrophagous is that they cannot go to peace or alliance. Basically, you want to fight all the time with Necrophagous. This is because it gives you an extra attack. And the more you fight, the more you're going to get some units, because you've got this great unit, which is a proliferator, and it has got parasitism. So parasitism, if you send parasites to enemy units and they die, at the end of the fight, you're going to get an extra unit, which I can't remember the name, but basically 3 units, and this is pretty much a swarm type of strategy. You want to get a lot of free cheap units and basically roll over the world. You have to be aggressive, you have to be doing early rush and stuff like that. So main victory type elimination, definitely. Next one is the Ardent Mages. This is probably another vanilla faction, I would say. They don't have many big things that differentiate them from other factions. The main thing is they can build pillars for dust, and that gonna give them some feedsy boost. So it depends. You've got many type of pillars. You've got ones that give you science. You've got ones that gives you dust. Pretty much whatever you want. And they've got this great unit, the Enequa Wing, which is very, very good overall, great stats, and they've got the revive ability, which means that they basically cannot die. And the last thing is, when they fight, you can use, again for dust, you can use pillars to stun your enemies, which makes them probably the best faction combat-wise. But apart from that, they're very, very standard. Here, as I say, the main victory type is science. I would probably disagree, and I would say you probably want to go for elimination or supremacy with the Ardent Mages. Next one is Roving Clans. Roving Clans is quite interesting. They are the trader factions. They don't like to go to war, and in fact they cannot declare war at all. So it's not great for elimination. What you want to do, as I say, is probably economy victory. If you really want to fight, you can do so using mercenaries and privateers, but you're not going to get the same level of army as you would get from other factions. What's great for economy, or on roving clans, is the bonus they get on trading routes and trade in general. So any transaction that goes through the market, you get a percentage from it. I would say that it's good if you play on very large maps where you can get a lot of regions, grow very wide empire with lots of region, lots of trade routes, lots of exchange with other factions. So yeah, quite interesting faction really. Next one is probably one of my favorites, the Dracon. The Dracons are very good overall, I think. They're pretty vanilla in the way they play because they don't really have a strong appetite for a certain fizzy type. But what they can do is basically they know where everybody is at the start, so it's great for scouting. And then they've got extra science and influence on ruins. But if we played Dracon once, I'll show you, but it's not really good to settle near ruins, just because you cannot build districts on ruins, so it kind of blocks your city from growing onto the way of the ruin. Overall, their best skill is diplomatic pressure, which means you can force the truce, peace, or alliance on a targeted empire. This is pretty fantastic because it lets you survive until the late game. And because your units are really good and you've probably got the best generals in the game, I think it's pretty easy to go for an elimination victory with Dracon. Probably even better for supremacy, because what you can do is just snipe the capital of the enemy and then force them into truce. Fantastic. Last thing I would say is that the game said the main victory type for them is diplomatic. I'm not sure it's the main victory type, but it's definitely a victory type you can achieve with them. Diplomatic, you're gonna get it by doing a lot of diplomacy actions. So alliance, commerce, exchange, trade, all that stuff, and of course getting a lot of influence. So of course you're gonna be a lot of influence with the Dracon, and you're probably gonna try to have a lot of alliance and treaties with other factions. So if you really want to, you can get a diplomatic faction with a Dracon. Next one, the Cultists. Cultists have a very, very unique gameplay, and they're pretty cool. I mean, look at that style. It's very, very uncommon, especially for a 4X game, I think. So the main thing about Cultists is they can only have one city, but that city can be pretty amazing, because I'm not sure which one, but basically the Cultists can have level 3 districts. Sorry about that, I can't find it. So with their level 3 district, they're gonna get very, very good bonuses on their one city, which means your only city is gonna have fantastic production. And because you're gonna get you only have one city, it's easier to defend. You're gonna get a lot of fortification, you're gonna get all your units around it, so it's very, very interesting concept. The way you expand with Cultists is by converting minor faction villages. This is quite interesting and quite difficult to master, because you don't want to convert too many villages, because one, it's going to cost you influence, it's going to cost you dust to maintain the army upkeep, and it's going to be very, very hard to defend if you expand too far away from your main city. However, the base thing is that you can pretty much cherry pick which faction you want to convert, and then you're going to get their best unit, and then you can factor that into your army to get the best kind of melt and the best army composition depending on your enemies. So yeah, with that, it's quite fantastic. You can do a lot of scouting and harass with your minor faction units that you get for free, and then I think supremacy or elimination is a very good victory type for them. Next one is Forgotten, which appeared in the Shadows expansion. Forgotten is very interesting faction. I think lore-wise very, very nice, very cool. It is the spying faction of the game, which means they are going to be masters of spying. So when you spy on a city, you can do action like steal research, decrease population, decrease fortification, decrease production for some time. So it's a very, very interesting concept. I think a lot of people underestimate it, although it's quite difficult to master and it's quite costly. So the main difference for Forgotten is that they cannot research things. They don't know anything about science. They are science phobic instead, in fact. So how do they progress into the technology tree? Well, they buy it. They basically buy the research from other factions, or they steal it through spies. So at the beginning it's very easy, and you're going to get a strong early game because you've got decent units, and then if you get a lot of dust from ruins or your early quest, you can buy your way up to Era 2 very quickly. Which means you can probably have a very good chance at rushing another city nearby, another faction nearby at the beginning of the game. They also are very good at pillaging, which is again another concept of harass onto other factions. Quite difficult to master again, but very interesting. It can give you a lot of rewards for it. And the last thing is their units have the stealth capacity, which means they are not visible to your enemy. So the best thing about Forgotten, I think, is that you put a spy into the enemy capital, and then you build an army which has stealth, and then you just destroy the fortification of the enemy capital, and then you show up with your army one turn later and just destroy the hell out of the militia. And that's how you achieve supremacy victory with Forgotten. I think they are a very, very difficult faction to play, but they are very, very cool. So yeah, as I said, supremacy victory is probably the best one for them. Next one, the Ally. So the Ally faction was added during the Shifters expansion. These are the flying bats, and they are the masters of winter. They are really, really good. So their main threat is that they basically dislike expansion. So as you can see, they've got a plus 150% expansion disapproval, which means your empire is going to be tall rather than wide. So small number of big cities rather than large number of small cities. As you can see, the gross required food per population on empire is plus 100% as well. So it's very hard to grow your empire with allies. They are very good when fighting together. They're very good units. They're really good during winter because of their shifting capacity. They've got shifter nature, and they've got bonus when they fight together with other units, so improved moral. They probably have the best unit out of the game, which is the Skyfin. Skyfin is solitary, which means it has to stay on its own. It cannot be part of any other army. It's one with Auriga, which I think means it cannot be attacked by non-controllable enemies like minor factions, roaming armies. And the best thing is that they can actually suck strategic resources without the need for an extractor, and they've got great movement, even better during winter, which makes them the best scout unit out of the game, and to me it's the best unit done. The other thing is that they're great. They are great at gathering pearls because they actually see pearls. So you can all the pearls building that you can get in the game. They're probably it's going to be very easy for the ally to build them. So again, a very interesting faction. Main victory type quest. Not 100% about that. I mean, they're quite good overall. I would say quest or maybe elimination is the way to go for them. The last faction is the Morgor. The Morgor has been the last faction added recently during the Tempest expansion. and they are basically the sea faction, and they are quite difficult and incredible to play really, because they are hydrophilic, which means they're going to be doing great on sea or lake and on rivers. Extra production, extra science, fantastic, that's what I want. But their units are so slow, 3 speed on land, that's just terrible, you're not going to get anywhere with that. Obviously they are much better on the sea, so they're going to get extra movement. The thing you want to do with Morgor is settle near the sea, so if you start in the middle of a continent, well, you're pretty much screwed. So if you settle near the sea, then you can start producing your sea units, which are the best of the game, and then you can get all control of all the fortresses, which are giving extremely good bonuses at the moment. And then with that, you should be able to get a fantastic army of minor factions and pretty much destroy everybody else. I would say Supremacy is a good one for them. I don't know why they recommend the expansion type. I'm saying Supremacy because when you've got a lot of disruption ability like the Morgor have, like Cat's Paw or the Black Spot. The Black Spot basically, you select another faction in the game, it gives them the Black Spot, which means people that attack them are going to get extra dust for destroying their units. So fantastic way of disrupting the whole game. Cat's Paw is basically the way of controlling third-party roaming armies of minor factions, which are great because it pretty much means you don't need to worry too much about the third-party faction, and you can use them to harass your opponents, distract them, and then you can try to snipe their capital. So yeah, a pretty fantastic faction. Pretty new as well. I think they might be balanced in a patch coming soon. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, pretty cool at the moment. So that's it for the quick overview of all the faction in Endless Legend. As you can see, there's quite a lot of playstyle. In the coming videos, we're going to look at all the faction individually and especially their early game. So what would you do in the first 20-30 turns? This I already explained in my introduction video, what we're going to talk about. And yeah, to finish, I'm just going to try to, I would say, divide the faction into 3 categories, I would say. So that's really aimed at beginners who want to pick a faction. So first one is, I think, the very, very basic faction, the one for the beginners. If you never really played a 4X game, or if it's your first game in Endless Legend and you're not really familiar with all the concept of cities, region, FIDSI, production, science, all of that. So I would say I would advise you to play Wild Walkers because pretty much vanilla, Falters because you're not gonna have a lot of fighting to do, and it's science, so it's pretty cool, or Ardent Mages because they're pretty standard. You can just use and abuse the pillars with them. The Dracon as well, I would say, because if you want to avoid fighting, Dracon are great for that. You can pretty much spend the entire game without fighting and just go to your diplomatic victory. So all of these, very easy to play, very cool to play. Again, depending on which kind of feeling you have, which lore you prefer, just pick the one you want. I think once you've got a bit more experience with the game, you might want to go with either the Broken Lords, Necrophages, the Roving Clans, the Alai, or maybe the Morgor. No, I would say maybe not yet. So Alai, Roving Clans, Necrophages, Broken Lords. These are very distinct gameplay style, but they're really, really, really fun to play. I think they're probably the most interesting faction in Endless Legend. They give you a really good balance of different playstyle, but still very, very efficient. And then I would say if you've got a good experience with Endless Legend and you're ready to you master all the combat skill, the fighting, the spying, how to use minor faction and create a good balanced army of units, then you might want to start playing with the Cultists or the Forgotten, because I think their playstyle are so different. But it's also what makes these games so incredible. So in the next few videos, we're going to look at a couple of these factions, see their early game, and hopefully that's gonna help you play with them. So I hope you enjoyed this little video, and I'll see you in the next one.